Cold call. S-2369, a bill to require a more reasonable period for delayed notice search warrants, to provide enhanced judicial review of FISA orders and national security letters, to require an enhanced factual basis for a FISA order, and to create national security letter sunset provisions, to the Committee on the Judiciary. Mr. Spectre. Mr. President, I have sought recognition to offer legislation which would amplify the Patriot Act, which we expect to be passed by the House of Representatives tomorrow, with these amendments to restore the provisions of the Patriot Act to the provisions of the Senate bill, which was passed unanimously by the Judiciary Committee, on which the presiding officer sits, as do I, and was then adopted by unanimous consent by the Senate. Patriot Act has had a complex procedural history where the House passed a version which was substantially different from the Senate version. Then we hammered out a conference report which, in my view, was an acceptable compromise. It did not have all of the provisions which I would have preferred. It did not have the provisions of the Senate bill. But in a bicameral legislature, we learned to work with the art of the possible. That was accommodation. We worked closely with Chairman Sensenbrenner in the House and crafted a bill which was acceptable. There were certain key concessions made to the Senate which I believed were important, perhaps indispensable, and the leading one being the sunset provision, which was finally established at 4 years. That had been the provision in the Senate bill. And by sunset, for anyone who may be watching on C-SPAN 2, that is the provision which terminates the bill. And then it has to come back to Congress for reevaluation to see if we want to give the expanded powers to law enforcement officials. The House bill had 10 years. The Senate bill had 4 years. The House wanted a compromise at 7 years, and the Senate held fast. And the compromise was reached, so we finally put a provision in at 4 years. The Patriot Act was passed shortly after the terrible tragedies of 9/11, when the United States was victimized by a terrorist attack. By March 24th of 2016, I had already submitted reports to the Senate and the House of Representatives, specifically their finance and banking committees of the respective bicameral legislature, requesting a formal investigation in connection with allegations that a federal department that would have involved an appointment by the president was engaged in illegal activities that compromised national security. That was in March of 2016. You've overextended your period. There was never any legal justification for this, and in the meantime, what has been done instead? Every single person you attempted to torture under the auspices of justifying their relationship to anybody else that could somehow be tormented in the course of an alleged FISA proceeding has apparently just been acknowledged as a complete slander and falsehood. You haven't been able to prove a damn thing, and in the meantime, you stripped a bunch of people down. Did we just not apologize in a manner that was pleasing to you and your pretenses at holding the seat of government long enough to get your payoff? And now what? It's 9:26 a.m., March 5th, 2021. I am not attempting to impersonate a member of the government, but if somebody who has now had their mortal time frame on Earth has expired and has made a request of me, consider it relayed.